An old hag like you isn't even womanly anymore. I'm divorcing you, so get lost. With a mocking smile, Patrick said to me. We were in the hospital where Patrick was admitted, and I had come to take care of him. Despite having devotedly supported Patrick through his illness, this is the thanks I get. Patrick betrayed me with a calm face. Reflecting back, I've always been treated horribly by Patrick. Yet, why have I endured it all this time? There's no benefit in being married to such a despicable person. While thinking this, I slowly began to speak. I won't let Patrick have his way anymore. Holding a burning resolve quietly in my heart, I faced Patrick head-on. My name is Amy Hansen, a 45-year-old working housewife. My family consists of my son, Ryan, and my husband, Patrick. Ryan just started high school this year and is a very kind and good child. I think I did well raising him. My husband, Patrick, used to be quite handsome. It may sound strange to call my own husband handsome, but he was very popular back then. I fell in love with Patrick at first sight, competed with my rivals at the time, and snatched away the role of his wife. However, the handsome part is a thing of the past. Hey, isn't there something to snack on? Now in his 40s, Patrick has gained weight significantly since Ryan was born. And now he has a substantial belly. The reason for his weight gain was his infidelity. Patrick cheated on me while I was busy raising Ryan, claiming he felt lonely. His affair partner was a foodie, and accompanying her led him to gain a lot of weight quickly. I'm divorcing you. Wait, please. Give me another chance. Upon discovering the affair, I intended to divorce Patrick. However, Patrick didn't want to part from Ryan, who was just born. And he swore never to cheat again. For my part, I thought it cruel for Ryan to be without a father, so I hesitated on the divorce. Since then, Patrick hasn't cheated, but his overweight figure remains. He promised to diet when we were rebuilding our marriage, but he has yet to fulfill that promise. I've resigned myself to him probably staying this way for life. To me, it doesn't matter whether Patrick is fat or thin. However, I wish he would stop leading an unhealthy lifestyle. The reason Patrick has never lost weight is his persistent unhealthy habits, which he refuses to give up despite my warnings. How will he manage if he collapses? I've told him numerous times, but Patrick doesn't listen. I wonder if my admonitions are just a waste of breath, as my size and Patrick's fat keep increasing. I'm a working housewife. And the company I've been with since graduating from college has become significantly busier recently. In the past few years, our sales have greatly increased. And plans to establish a branch office have emerged. This has led to an increase in my workload, making my days overwhelmingly busy. But I still need to prepare meals, right? For Patrick's health, I make time to cook meals despite being busy. Yet, all my efforts seem in vain. I failed the health checkup. I have to go for a retest next month. What, again? Patrick has failed his annual health checkup almost every year. He reported this year's failure with an annoyed expression. Hey, where's the result sheet from the health checkup? Show it to me. Thinking it best to be informed, I asked Patrick for it. However, he refused with a reluctant look. Why? It's not necessary. I'll just go for the retest, get treated, and that'll be the end of it. But, what if something happens? Huh? You know, you always make a big deal out of everything. Don't fuss over such things. Seriously? Patrick just muttered complaints and, in the end, did not share the results of his health checkup with me. From that day on, I made sure to prepare health-conscious meals. But Patrick grimaced heavily at the sight of the food served. I can't feel like I've eaten with such bland food. After complaining about the food I made and leaving most of it untouched, He would buy cup noodles or junk food and eat that instead. It would be okay, in small amounts. But the volume he eats at one time makes me wonder where it all goes in his body. At this rate, he might need a retest next year as well. Hey, I'm not saying stop eating. But how about reducing the amount? It's bad for your health? Mom's right. Aren't you eating a bit too much? Even Ryan, who is growing and needs food, was taken aback by how much and how heavily flavored the food Patrick was consuming was. By the way, Ryan happily eats the healthy meals I prepare with a smile. However, it seems even our son's advice doesn't reach Patrick. Shut up. I bought it with my salary, you have no right to tell me what to do. Patrick yelled at us in frustration. Ryan and I continued to patiently warn him, but each time, Patrick would snap back. And eventually, we stopped saying anything. Then, one day, this happened. What? My husband was taken to the hospital. I received a sudden call from Patrick's workplace that he had collapsed. Although I was at work, I rushed to the hospital where Patrick was taken. According to the doctor, Patrick had suffered a heart attack and needed emergency surgery. Still shaken, I signed the consent form. The surgery was a success, and Patrick survived. I breathed a sigh of relief. But it was probably Patrick's unhealthy lifestyle that caused the heart attack. The doctor also mentioned he was a bit overweight. It was all Patrick's own doing. I thought he might reflect and change his lifestyle going forward, but it seems I was too optimistic. Hey, could you buy me some sweet juice? And I want some chips too. I'm sick of the bland hospital food. Once he regained consciousness and felt better, Patrick tried to get me to buy him snacks. I refused while feeling astounded. That's impossible. You had a heart attack because of your unhealthy lifestyle. You need to change that. However, Patrick lashed out at me in anger. I'm a patient, you know. Saying such terrible things, you're the worst. Even after that, Patrick continued to order me around. He thinks it's natural for me to obey because he is a patient. I would accommodate him within reason, but I couldn't accept his requests about food. When I refused, Patrick would get furious. Sometimes, he even threw things at me. I was becoming increasingly disheartened, but Patrick, having undergone a forced diet during his hospital stay, was in a much better mood. Hospitalization isn't so bad. He said this nonchalantly while looking in the mirror, unaware of my struggles. The semblance of his past handsomeness had returned, and recently, he's been bragging about how female nurses and other patients often talk to him. Sigh. I'm tired. Not just work and house chores, but also nursing Patrick, my days are overwhelmingly busy. At night, finally taking a break, I sat in the living room chair and involuntarily sighed. Hey, Mom, I'll take care of the household chores from now on. Then, Ryan, looking concerned, said that. Huh? That's okay, Ryan. You have club activities, right? There's no match for a while, and lately it's been all voluntary practice. Plus, it's better to learn some household chores for when I get married in the future, right? Ryan's offer to help was appreciated. But what truly warmed my heart was his mention of preparing for when he gets married. Patrick has always stubbornly believed that housework is a woman's job, and has hardly ever participated in it himself. Despite growing up with such a father, Ryan has turned out to be a wonderful son. All right. Maybe I'll take you up on that offer then. As I said this, Ryan smiled broadly and nodded. I thought that with Ryan around, we could surely get through anything. But life isn't always so sweet. One day, as I went to visit Patrick as usual. What? There was a nurse with her uniform undone on Patrick's bed. A young female nurse screamed briefly, and I was stunned. The nurse's name tag read Maggie Owen. In a flustered manner, Patrick hustled the nurse out of the room and then said with a sigh, "Give me a heads up before you come." "No, I did call." "But who was that just now? What were you doing?" I knew the answer without asking, but I asked anyway. When Patrick had cheated many years ago, he swore he'd never do it again. I had thought Patrick had reflected on his actions since he hadn't cheated recently. But perhaps, he hadn't cheated simply because no one was interested in him due to his weight? While I was in shock, Patrick gave a smug smile. "What, you ask? It's an affair. I've started to get popular again since I lost weight. Man, I don't have enough bodies to enjoy this." "But you promised you wouldn't cheat." Then, with a scornful laugh, Patrick hurled these words at me. "That was in the past, right? An old hag like you isn't even womanly anymore. I'm divorcing you, so get lost." "How could you?" Then, Patrick dropped another bombshell. "Actually, she's pregnant with my child. As a man, I have to take responsibility, right?" He spoke grandly about responsibility, but what about his responsibility towards our family? I started to say this, but then closed my mouth. Instead, I murmured quietly, "I see, what a pity. Well, I'll go get the divorce papers now."
Yeah.
"I'd appreciate that." Stunned, I went straight to the city hall to pick up the divorce papers. After getting Patrick to sign them at the hospital, I spoke while holding back tears. "I wish you happiness. I'm leaving that house."
Yeah.
"That house is mine, so it's only natural for you to leave. Also, I'll give you custody. The kid prefers you, and his girlfriend would hate dealing with a child around." I didn't react to Patrick's words and quietly put the divorce papers in my bag. Patrick watched me, seemingly enjoying my distress. "I should have done this sooner. You've been really cheeky lately. You've been quite presumptuous all this time, haven't you? This is what you get. You're getting divorced because it's all your own doing." I had fallen in love with Patrick and married him. Perhaps he had been so awful because he was confident in being liked by me. But that ends today. I left Patrick's belongings in the hospital room and walked out without looking back. 1 month after divorcing Patrick, Ryan and I had moved out of that house, and now we lived just the two of us. With all the paperwork settled, Ryan and I were finally enjoying a day off with nothing else to do. "You look tired, Mom. I'll make lunch today." "Really? Thank you, I'm looking forward to it." Ryan and I shared a peaceful laugh together. At that moment, Patrick unexpectedly called. "Hello, hello?" I answered the phone, tilting my head, wondering what he could possibly want. This was the first time Patrick had called since the divorce. I really didn't want to answer the phone, but I couldn't ignore it if it was an emergency. Then, I heard Patrick's pained voice on the other end. "Hey, they told me to pay the rest of the surgery bill. Didn't you pay it?" I sighed in exasperation at such a matter. "I haven't paid." "Why should I, now that we're divorced, pay your surgery bills?" Indeed, I had paid all of Patrick's surgery and hospital fees. Patrick always found it troublesome to sign up for insurance, and had no hospital insurance whatsoever. That's why I paid out of my own pocket. It was a significant amount of money, but at that time, Patrick was still my family. And I had no complaints about paying. However, Patrick cruelly betrayed our family and pushed for a divorce. At that point, he was no longer my family, so there was no need for me to pay. When I told Patrick this, he continued in a flustered tone from the other end of the phone. "You were paying such a huge amount? The amount written on the receipt is quite substantial." "Yes. Because you were my family. Of course, I'd pay that much for family. But now, you and I are no longer family. Then, Patrick raised his voice in panic. You know my family. You know I don't have that much savings. Of course, I know. You always spent money recklessly. Indeed, since his affair years ago, Patrick had become more extravagant in his spending. I had warned him several times, but he would just get angry, saying not to complain about the money he earned. He wasn't that interested in food before, but after being influenced by his affair partner, he continued to spend a lot of money on meals even after they split up. There were also golf clubs he gave up on after 3 days, and an expensive camera collecting dust, just to name a few. Patrick was just recklessly spending his salary without planning. Eventually, I gave up even trying to comment on how he spent his money. Then, you know I can't pay such a large sum. Arrange for the treatment costs and come to the hospital. Where are you now? I asked Maggie to go to the house, but she said there was no one there. Maggie was Patrick's affair partner. I was truly glad that Ryan and I had left the house. I absolutely didn't want to meet the affair partner who had caused us so much pain. In response to the frantic Patrick, I replied very calmly. Why would I tell you? Right now, Ryan and I are enjoying a very peaceful life. I absolutely refuse to let you disrupt this peace. Since divorcing Patrick and leaving that house, Ryan's face has been brighter. I actually always wanted you to divorce Dad. You didn't seem happy with him, and he was always so nasty to me. As I listened to him, it turned out that Patrick had been threatening Ryan that he wouldn't pay for his college if he didn't obey him. Ryan is a kind boy, but lately, he had been speaking out more against Patrick. Patrick probably didn't like that. If you defy your parents anymore, it won't end well for you. Patrick had been trying to control him by saying such things when I wasn't around. Hearing this made me feel so angry at Patrick that I almost felt dizzy. He said such awful things to his own son. I used to think Ryan would be lonely without his father if we divorced. But that was a huge misunderstanding. Continuing to live with Patrick was the cause of our misery. I deeply regret not divorcing him sooner. If we had, we could have avoided so many unhappy days. But now, we are free from Patrick. I won't let him take these days of freedom away from us. I am ready to do whatever it takes to protect Ryan and myself. I will never tell you where Ryan and I are. With a firm resolve, I spoke strongly to Patrick. Silence followed, but eventually, I could hear Patrick sniffling. Could he be crying? It's his own fault, and he doesn't even have the right to cry. I almost blurted out those words, but I swallowed them hastily. It's probably useless to say this now. Please, pay for the medical treatment. Patrick pleaded with me, his voice tinged with tears. His voice was so irritating that I frowned deeply as I responded. That's why I'm not going to pay. We're divorced. Do you not care what happens to me? You married me because you loved me, right? Patrick raised a cry of anguish. Indeed, I had loved Patrick. He used to be so handsome, and I fell for him at first sight. Initially, it was his looks that I fell for, but as I got to know him better, I grew to like his smooth handling of women and his kind personality. Looking back, Patrick has always been popular with women, which is probably why he treated me so smoothly. His kindness was just a tactic to make himself more appealing to women. You looked sad when I signed the divorce papers, right? You still have feelings for me, don't you? If you pay for the treatment, I'll divorce Maggie and remarry you. So? What nonsense are you talking about? Huh? Patrick made a foolish sound. My love for Patrick is a thing of the past. After Ryan was born and Patrick cheated, my love for him disappeared. The reason I looked sad at that time was because I was utterly dismayed by my own foolishness for not seeing through Patrick's cheating. It was not because I still had feelings for him. Patrick claimed he cheated because I was too busy with Ryan and he felt lonely. However, Patrick never helped me with housework or childcare after Ryan was born. Once, when I asked him to help even a little, he disdainfully said, "You can't even handle that? You're a failure as a mother." During a period when I was nervous from the busy days and unfamiliar with childcare, Patrick's words were the final blow. His cheating came to light shortly after that. Could he really think I still had feelings for him after all that? "I stopped loving you the day you cheated 14 years ago." It seems Patrick is stunned over the phone. Why? How could you? How could I? After you did something so awful, how could you ask why? You really don't understand other people's feelings. If you don't love me, why didn't you divorce me sooner? There are several reasons for that. First, divorcing with young Ryan was too risky. Also, I believed it was better for Ryan to have a father. Since the divorce drama, I had no love left for Patrick. We had just been living together as cohabitants. Over the years, I developed a familial affection for Patrick. I couldn't forgive the past, but I thought staying together as a family might be one option. However, Patrick cheated again right before my eyes that day. It doesn't matter who Patrick falls in love with, I won't be jealous anymore. I am angry because Patrick broke his promises. He broke his promises and abandoned his role as Ryan's father. I feel intense anger about that. I have no lingering feelings for someone like you. Whatever happens to you, I don't care. Patrick was at a loss for words after my answer. Are you just going to stay silent? I was enjoying my rare day off. I don't have time to deal with you anymore, so I'm hanging up, okay? As I said this, Patrick hurriedly spoke up. Wait. Look. You can't raise Ryan alone, right? He's going to college soon, and you'll need money. You'll be in trouble without me, won't you? Hearing such utterly misguided words, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. What are you laughing at? Over the phone, Patrick raised his voice in anger. It seems he really doesn't understand anything about me. To such a Patrick, I decided to reveal a certain truth. Did you know that I've been earning a higher salary than you for quite some time? Unlike you, I haven't been wasting my money, so I have a decent amount of savings. I'm not struggling financially at all, so no worries. What? That's why I'm not troubled by your absence. I've also got an education insurance for Ryan. Don't worry about his college expenses. Even without you, there's absolutely no problem. Yes, I have been consistently appreciated at the company I've worked at since graduating from college. And I've received a salary that reflects my contributions. Since I had to raise Ryan alone, I ended up taking a longer maternity leave, which delayed my promotions compared to my peers. Still, by steadily working hard, I have now been promoted to assistant manager. I had informed Patrick about my promotion, but he assumed that because I am a woman, I couldn't possibly be earning a significant salary. Busy with work, huh? That's just a woman's job, right? As a man, I'm definitely busier. Don't use your job as an excuse to neglect housework. When I was promoted and became busier, there were times I couldn't cook and we had to rely on takeout. That's when Patrick said those words to me. No matter how much I explained my job or how hard I tried to communicate my struggles, Patrick would only laugh mockingly. The reason I could endure it was because of the support from my gentle Ryan. It wasn't because of Patrick. Rather, Patrick was a burden to me. It was only after the divorce that I realized this. The situation had become like this because of Patrick. But perhaps my own insensitivity had also contributed to the deterioration of the situation. However, I won't make that mistake again. You haven't been contributing much to the living expenses in recent years, have you? Didn't you ever wonder how we could continue living as usual? It's obvious, because I was earning the money. Even without you, we have no problems at all. Then, Patrick muttered with a trembling voice. But, what about Ryan? Without a father, he must be feeling lonely, right? What will his future partner's parents think if they find out he doesn't have a father? For Ryan's future, it's better if I'm around, right? I couldn't believe he was still saying such things, and I instinctively held my head in dismay. Then, Ryan, who had been listening to the conversation with Patrick the whole time, gestured that he wanted to speak on the phone. Are you sure? I'm sure. There's something I want to say to Dad. I nodded and handed the smartphone to Ryan. Hello, Dad? Ryan. You tell your mom, too. She needs me, right? However, without a pause, Ryan responded firmly. No, we're not struggling at all. What? To me, Mom is my only parent. Dad and I are just connected by blood. I even dislike that, but there's nothing I can do about it. Also, you mentioned something about marriage partners. Having a parent like you would be more of a disadvantage to me. Calmly, Ryan spoke words that negated Patrick. His face was the picture of serenity, showing no intent of getting back at Patrick. He was simply stating what he thought, in a composed manner. I'm really glad Mom divorced you. Thanks to that, I'm very happy now. If there was ever talk of Mom remarrying you, I would do everything to stop it. Because that wouldn't make Mom happy. Ryan's cool words seemed to have left Patrick completely speechless. Could you please not get involved with me and Mom anymore? You should just be happy with your affair partner. Wait, Ryan. I still want to be your dad. Then why did you cheat? This is all your own doing, Dad. You brought this on yourself. I don't think of you as a father anymore. You're unnecessary in my and Mom's lives. Faced with such a clear rejection, I couldn't help but give a wry smile. I never expected Ryan to reject Patrick so completely. I took the phone from Ryan and had my final say to Patrick. So, do you understand? Just like Ryan said, don't involve yourself with us ever again. If you show up in front of us, I'll consult a lawyer and take appropriate action. Patrick didn't utter a word. I sighed softly and hung up the phone. Later, I heard that Patrick had borrowed money from a consumer finance service to pay the remaining surgery and hospital bills. If he had no money, he could have discussed a payment plan with the hospital or found a better way. Patrick's thoughtless actions reaffirmed my decision to divorce him. After the moving process settled down a bit, I took a break and then hired a lawyer to claim compensation for the affair. Just divorcing over an affair wasn't enough for me. Patrick apparently hadn't expected to be sued for compensation. He was quite difficult with the lawyer. Then, we'll go to court if we have to. Please tell him I'm prepared for that. After I told the lawyer this, Patrick seemed to have agreed quietly to the compensation demand. It was at this time that Patrick finally told his parents about our divorce and asked them for financial help to pay the compensation. However, upon hearing this, Patrick's parents were furious. They said they no longer considered him a son and declared they were cutting ties with him. Later, I received a call from my mother-in-law. We've cut ties with him. But we don't want to lose our connection with you and Ryan. Even though you're divorced, would you come and visit us again? Yes, of course. I'll bring Ryan to visit again. Patrick's parents are very kind and good people. We live far away, but they continue to support us. Ryan also wants to see his grandparents, and we plan to visit them soon. Patrick, disowned by his own parents, borrowed more money from consumer finance to pay the compensation. Currently, he is struggling just to pay the interest. I think he might declare bankruptcy eventually, but whatever happens to him is none of my concern. Patrick, whose savings went into the negative, managed to leave the hospital. But soon after, he fell ill again. After our separation, his unhealthy lifestyle worsened. Incidentally, he has broken up with his affair partner. I also filed a claim for compensation against her, but the lawyer told me something interesting. She said she'd broken up with your ex-husband and asked to be forgiven for the compensation claim because the pregnancy was a lie. That doesn't matter. I will pursue the compensation claim. Understood, I'll pass that on. So, I ruthlessly pursued the compensation claim against the affair partner too. She had lied about being pregnant thinking it would lead to my divorce with Patrick. She got her wish. But she probably never expected that Patrick would be so broke he couldn't even pay for surgery. Apparently, she had been fired from the hospital for having an inappropriate relationship with a patient during her duty, and is struggling financially because her job search is going poorly. However, that is none of my business. Eventually, she managed to gather the money to pay the compensation, probably using consumer finance as well. Well, I don't care for the details and don't want to know. After confirming the compensation payment was deposited, I breathed a sigh of relief. Thus, my tumultuous days came to an end. Currently, Ryan and I are living peaceful and happy lives. Wary of Patrick and the vengeful affair partner, I chose a highly secure apartment for our new home. Just to be safe, we keep in touch with the in-laws and are informed about Patrick's current situation to the extent they know. After paying the compensation, Patrick sold his house to cover his debts and is now living a lonely life in an apartment. Though he initially lost weight, his unhealthy lifestyle quickly brought him back to his previous state, and he was hospitalized again, looking emaciated rather than thin. He appears much older than his actual age, in his 40s. Well, whatever happens to him, it's completely irrelevant to us. Mom, I have something to discuss about university. Do you have time now? Yes, of course. Ryan has recently started to think seriously about his future. The divorce turmoil was hard on him, but now he is living very energetically. Since the divorce, I have more free time, almost more than I know what to do with. I'm thinking of starting a new hobby with my spare time. Having barely had any personal time before, just imagining it makes me feel excited. All right, let's make today another great day. Today, like every other, I am dedicated to working and taking care of the household for myself and Ryan. Imagining the fun future awaiting us, I smiled.